Hi, everyone. I'd like to introduce you to Noemi Iglesias. Noemi, it's such a special treat and an honor to get to talk to you today. One of the things I'm want to call out that's just really special for us is obviously, us being based in Portland, Oregon, and being able to have this conversation with you all the way in Spain. Something I've been talking with close friends and family and colleagues about is during this time, we feel more alone than ever, but I feel like we also feel more together than ever. So like making these connections from so far away um, is
Yeah,
really neat how this is it's some silver lining to what is going on. But for everybody tuning in, Noemi has an online feature with us. And again, that's sort of one of these adaptations our gallery's been making in these times, and it's really given us this great opportunity to work with artists near and afar, and build new relationships. So again, I'm super excited that we're getting to share your work and learn more about you and share more about you. Um, so that said, I'm sure much of our audience hasn't met you, and I'd love to hear kind of just how you got started. What drew you to art or clay, and what your journey's been. Kind of how you've come to be where you are now. So yeah, do share.
yeah. Well, I started studying fine arts here in Spain, and I graduated from the fine arts school in the Basque Country in Bilbao. And at the beginning, I started working with sculpture, but not with ceramics. I started doing some more works with with wood, with lights, with fabrics, and something a little bit more like a constructive way of building objects. And it wasn't until 2013, I think, when I started working with porcelain, and it was at the International Ceramics Studio in Hungary. I started working there as a material assistant and helping the staff that was working already there, and that's how I start getting engaged with this material. And I work only with porcelain. I don't know, I saw some other clays or something, but it was the porcelain, the one that that kept
Grabbed
my
you.
my attention. And yeah, it was so white, so pure, so translucent, and yeah, I thought it was like a really good material. And so I decided that if I wanted to go somewhere or go further with this kind of material and process, I should need a like a I should really learn how to work with it. And so I started looking for a master degree, and I wanted to do it in Asia because somehow I thought that you know to study ceramics, I thought that it would be, the best place to get my education with this kind of material would be Asia. So I checked certain, like different universities in China, in Japan, in Korea, and it was really difficult to find a university that you could apply for without knowing the language. If you want to go to China, you need to know Chinese. If you want to go to Japan, you need to know
You gotta
Japanese.
know Japanese. Yeah, yeah.
But when I was in that residence in Hungary, in that studio, I mean, I met one Korean artist, Suku Park, and he told me that there was a university in Taiwan that you could
Mm-hmm.
apply without knowing Chinese. That just with the English certificate, you could apply for the, to start the MA. So I looked for that university. It was the Tainan National University of the Arts. It's in the south of the island, and yeah, I look at the program and it looked really, really good and really complete. It was a 3 years program. So yeah, I sent the application and I got in. And that's where I've been living for the last 3 years.
And the education there, was it kind of what you expected? Was it really, you're saying you wanted to learn like technique. Was it heavy in technique?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Cool.
think so, because at the beginning I only know how to do, you know, plaster molds and slip casting, because I knew once I finished my degree in Spain, I was at the Athens School of Fine Arts in Greece, and I was studying sculpture there for 3 years, but still I didn't do ceramics, and I was working with plaster molds and casting bronze pieces. So somehow I knew how to work with plaster molds, and my beginning with ceramics was just, you know, plaster molds and slip casting porcelain, and that was it. But during my my time at the Tainan National University of the Arts, I learned how to, you know, how to work with the wheel. And now I'm a really good thrower somehow.
Okay.
I also learned how to work with, you know, slab building or coiling, or I don't know, just handmade objects. Yeah, I think it was very beneficial for me, because I learned a different, you know, like a wide, you know, like many different options that I could whenever I wanted to make a piece.
Cool. Now when you were there, were you, with that sort of education, are they providing, is it conceptual as well? I mean, is it like ways of thinking? I know in a lot of MFA programs here in the United States, you know, we're thinking of concept, right? And how you're thinking about your concept, or was that more what you have, I guess, brought to your work? You know, if you're learning technique, then how you apply it to.
It was, you know, a little bit of both of them. You know, because, the way the program was set, it's the first year you should try different techniques, different concepts, or you know, whatever you wanted to try. The first year was focused on that, on trying out as much as you can. And then the second year you should focus on something you found interesting, either you know, with using certain technique, or working on certain concepts. So you, during the second year, you should get a little bit deeper on this kind of material you wanted to work with. And then on the third year, it was the, you know, like the final year. So you had to come up with a whole concept, like really good constructed, and make a whole solo exhibition and write your thesis. So it was a pretty long, you know, like a really long, sorry.
It's okay, like an evolution. And it seems sort of step by step in a really good way.
Like a long program, you know, it was set up like this, you know, first year you try, second year you get specialized on something, and then the third year you make it, you know, you make it happen somehow. Yeah.
No, that's very, I mean, that seems like a very sound way to do it, a very smart way. Yeah. You know, I've seen some education where they rush to get to ideas in some cases, but there's no technique, you know, so you're like, I have all these ideas, but I don't know how to make them, you know. So it's nice to hear that there is sort of an order to that in that education.
Yeah, and we had so many hours, you know, we worked so hard, everybody, you know, in that studio, because the studio was open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you could spend as many time as you wanted to, you know, just to focus on what you wanted to do and how you can get it done. So yeah, I really recommend this program to anybody who might be interested in, you know, in pursuing a career in ceramics. Yeah.
Cool. So let's segue to now to present day, I guess, and what's led you to this body of work that you're working on. So there's specific pieces that we're showing, but maybe you could talk about kind of the work you were making leading up to this, and then in your current work.
Yeah, well, as I said, I started working with, you know, slip casting porcelain objects, and I still work with this technique in case I need it, you know. For example, with the cars, one of the last pieces I made, the Everlasting series, I used the plaster molds to make the, you know, the cars.
The cars,
but then I used the flower making process to do the whole decoration of the cars. So somehow I managed to combine different techniques into the same object. And for example, what I'm more focused now is on the flower making process. I learned how to make flowers during my second year of the university in China, because during the second year we used to go to we make like an exchange year abroad. So I decided to go to China because I wanted to improve my technique doing plaster molds again. But even I went to China to learn how to do learn how to improve my plaster molds. I end up learning how to make porcelain flowers, so that worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got really engaged with that technique, and that's the main body of my work right now.
Great. And you're not solely just doing things in clay, meaning you're not just an object maker, you're also doing performative work.
Yeah, actually my first
how do those overlap? Yeah.
My first work with flowers, it was with porcelain flowers. I mean, it was a performance. And I worked with 437 porcelain daisies. And I make this saying, when you pick up a daisy and you start tearing up the petals apart and you say, oh, he loves me not, he loves me not. So that's what I did with these flowers. I made all this big amount of daisies, and I started tearing apart. He loves me not, he loves me not. So that was the beginning of my work with porcelain flowers and with porcelain in general. And the performance was made because I wanted to use like an industrial technique, as it is the flower making process. And I wanted to use this kind of technique in a romantic, intimate kind of behavior. And so yeah, that's how I came up with this idea, because that's something I usually work, like how these emotional patterns or emotional behavior are kind of an agreement, or like a social agreement, and how we are supposed to behave when we are in love. So that's my main source of research.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I was wondering how, when you're pairing an object like a gas mask or like a car with the flowers, sort of what some of those relationships are. But that's insightful. Yeah.
Well, with the gas mask, it was a whole project. That was my last project with in the school. It was my how do you call it, your final degree?
Your final or your thesis? Yeah, your final degree.
My thesis. Yeah. That was my thesis. So what I made, it was because now you see the result with the mask, with the installation, with the 40 mask, and they all have, I made them with plaster molds, so they all look the same, but then they have a very intricate porcelain flower work on the bends, which make them quite unique. And also what makes them different from each other is that I use smoke fire to fire the works. So I use a sagar box and some charcoal and some different materials to get different like a different combination of colors. I even got to get orange, which I didn't really know how it came out.
You can do that, yeah.
But somehow it worked really, really well. But the beginning of this project, it was a performance. And it was a performance with Tinder, this application is like for social dating or something. Yeah. So I made a quarantine, and I wanted to experiment how people live their emotions through the social media. So I said, okay, I'm gonna use this application, and I'm gonna do a quarantine with this application. I'm gonna download it on my phone, and I'm gonna use it for 40 days. And during these 40 days, I'm gonna get one date per day with 40 different users, one day, 24 hours for a date with one user, and so on. So yeah, that was the beginning of the porcelain quarantine mask project.
Wow. Did you actually go on these dates? Is that what you mean? Or they were virtual, or?
No. I used maybe I did. Sorry, I didn't explain it very well, because I'm used to explain it in Spanish, and now I got a little bit.
That's okay.
So I might need to try a little bit, you know, like maybe 2 or 3 times until we really get what was the performance about. Okay, so I follow like a kind of like a protocol, you know. So I download the performance on my phone, the application on my phone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I open a profile. This profile was active for 40 days.
Yeah.
So during these 40 days, I use the Tinder interface
Yep.
to get one date per day with a different user every day. You know, so for example, day
So
one,
you would swipe. Yeah, so you would swipe until somebody.
I swipe all day long, you know, as much as Tinder allow me to swipe. You can sweep right 100 times every 12 hours, and then you have to wait, and then you can sweep again. So I sweep as much as the application allow me to do. So I end up having maybe like 3,000 matches or something. And so from all these matches, I managed to make like a kind of like a calendar or something. So I will go to one date per day with a different user. So every day, each date could have a maximum duration of 24 hours. And then after these 24 hours, without saying anything, you know, without any prior notice or something, I just delete them and then go to the next one, and then delete, and go to the next one, delete and go to the next one. So that's, you know, I in this project, I'm still applying like an industrial process, you know, of just producing, you know, it's the same way you produce a t-shirt, but the same way I produce a lover or a boyfriend or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it was quite intense, to be honest, because, you know, it was intense and repetitive at the same time, because every day I have to say the same thing, you know, hi, I'm Noemi and I'm from Spain and I'm here, blah, 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 you know, because I physically went to all these dates. So it was also quite, I don't know, emotionally, it was really, really intense, because, you know, many people ask me like, did you fall in love with some of them? And I'm like, yeah, well, of course I fallen in love with 3 or 4, you know, but that wasn't really the point. The point was just to experiment. How can you live your emotions through this application, which is forcing you to have certain romantic behavior, and it's all built up like a, you know, as if it was like a kind of like a factory, really, you know, like a love corpse factory rather than an emotional human behavior. So once I finish this quarantine and I delete the application, I start doing the mask.
Okay. That's great.
Did I explain it right? I mean,
I think so. Yeah. So you're having an experience each day with a user. Yeah. And my question to that was, some of it when you said quarantine, like, was some of it in person, or were these meaning you were with the person in the same space, or were these phone calls or texts?
No. I made this project in 2018.
Okay, so gotcha. Yes, when you could see people.
I physically made the contact. You know, I physically went to the dates. I just used
I understand.
I just used the application to set the date and the place, and okay, let's meet up at 6 o'clock in front of the train station. That's what I used the application for, and then
you would go.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're not kidding. Yeah. So that really is exhausting, just to physically show up every day and experience that, or introduce yourself.
How many dinners I had to eat, and yeah, it was wow.
Yeah. And no break in between. I mean, that's industrial. That's industrial dating for sure. Well, catch us up to what's going on in life now. I mean, you know, with the pandemic, you are back in Spain. I know that changed some plans for you, but there's some silver lining to that too. You're doing some great stuff there. Would you share with us what's going on now?
Yeah, right now I'm an artist in residence at the Bilbao Arte Foundation. This foundation, they offer different types of residencies. If someone is interested, they can look up online. you can have a 6 months residence or a 3 month residence. So I'm enrolled in the 3 month residence program, and I'm working on a series of work called Isolation, and it's made up with yellow and black flowers.
Awesome. And you had told me earlier that originally, I guess pre-COVID, you were going to be traveling to China, to Shanghai, but that changed, and that's how you ended up at this residency, correct?
Yeah. I was, because last year I was doing also a residence at the Vista Alegre Porcelain Factory in Portugal, so I was kind of making this residence in Portugal, and then straight away going to the one in China. But somehow, I just couldn't do the one in China because of the pandemic. And but still, I'm still talking with the Shanghai Academy of Arts and Crafts, where I was supposed to go as an invited artist, and hopefully we will be able to do it next year.
Okay, great.
I say hopefully, nobody really knows.
So. I know it's complicated. I work with some friends out here doing a residency, and we've been, this past summer would have had 14 Korean artists here, which of course couldn't happen. So we're all now saying, okay, next summer, but we don't know. We know there's no guarantee yet. So, but we're trying to plan. We're trying to move forward with those plans. But yeah, it's challenging to make these plans right now.
Yeah, but still somehow, I think it is important to at least have the feeling that you still, living your life somehow, and you still, you still can manage to, I don't know, to keep going and keep working or keep living just like this. Otherwise, it's difficult to cope with the whole situation if you don't have at least this, this willing of, okay, I'm still gonna do things, I'm still gonna be myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk with friends about that. Like, if otherwise you get kind of paralyzed, it's like we have to make some plans, even though we know they might change. And even though a lot of them probably will change, a lot of them have changed, but you keep moving forward with something.
It is different, that you make the plan and then you have to change it, then
no plan.
Then it's like a whole empty space, and to me that's really scary. And yeah.
I agree. And lastly, you had mentioned, which I wanted you to share with everybody, you had a piece in a museum recently, the museum work that you're talking about.
I got an award from the Los Bragales collection. It's a big art collection here in Spain, and every year they give an award to an emerging artist to make a piece related to it's nothing to do with ceramics this time. It's more about digital creation and digital art. So I'm working on a video, and it's called Eat Love, and it's like a kind of like an anatomy of how the communication using these dating apps. So it's like a map, and yeah, I'm still working on it. So hopefully I can show you some shoots of the video soon. The presentation will be on the 6th of November. So right now I'm really into the process of making the video. But I think it will be good, and I think it's also something that people should know. Like how the communication works. Using these kind of applications, and how your behavior it's not really as free as you might think, and how you are not really dating or talking to who you might think you want. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and you are really driven into whatever the application wants you to do.
Cool. Well, when, I guess in early November, when that comes out, if there's any way we can share it or promote it for you, I would love to. Please, when it's appropriate, please pass that along to us. Well, gosh, this has been great. I really appreciate all your time, and it's been great to get to know you better.
Thanks.
Noemi has her work up on our website. You can search for her through our exhibitions and also through our artist list, excuse me. And Noemi, I hope that this can be the beginning of a much longer and deeper relationship with us. You know, we're exploring these ideas of even doing these talks more frequently so that we can catch up in 3 months or 6 months, and you can fill us in on what's new and what's changing and what you're working on, and continue to sort of share that in real time, as well as, yeah. Go ahead.
Because when they knew that I was doing this online feature with you, some people even asked me like, "Oh, are you coming?" And I said, "No, not for now."
Not for now. Someday we could get there. I think that'll be the goal, right? But that's a nice way. I mean, I think that's what these will continue to facilitate for us, is until we can make those bigger plans. This is, I feel like, a great way to stay interconnected and learn about each other and share the great things that you're doing with everybody. So thank you so much, and I look forward to continuing working with you and sharing more work.
You too. Yeah, thank you. It was great to have a chat with you and finally know each other.
Yes. Well, goodbye for now. We'll chat soon, Noemi.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.